Sorry boss, I can't come back in, I've been drinking. A few years ago, my wife was working as an EMS worker in our local township. She got home from work one night after a long day and posted a picture of herself holding an unopened beer and saying I needed this. In the picture you could tell the beer was still closed. A few minutes after she posted her picture, a major storm decided to suddenly roll through. My wife, being the good employee she was, called her supervisor and asked if he needed any help. He said no. You can't come in, you posted a picture of yourself drinking alcohol. She objected that the can wasn't opened and every idiot could see that, but he wouldn't relent. But he said something about how it could be construed wrong. Fast forward a couple of weeks, it had been a stupidly busy day for her, and when she finally got home, she ran over to the shelf that we had a bottle of whiskey on, literally tossed me her phone and said, "Quick, take a picture of me drinking this." The cap was obviously still on the bottle, but she tipped it up like she was drinking it and she posted it online as soon as I gave the phone back. Her boss called her 10 minutes later and said, "We need you to come back in, we are short-staffed tonight." She said, "Sorry boss, I can't, I've been drinking." Check online. He tried to object that the cap was on and she said, "Last time I posted a picture like this, you wouldn't let me come in because it would set the wrong precedent. I wouldn't want to do that to you this time." Edit: 50% of the people commenting are saying they do or have done the same thing, mostly military, but 1% of the people commenting are saying this is made up and never happened. It's quite amusing. Edit 2: for those saying the supervisor was correct on the closed beer, I agree, but you can't have it both ways. Now to the comments. I learned this in the US Army working in the medical field. We didn't have social media back then, but if my boss called to ask me to work, I'd tell him I'd had a few beers already. I'm sure he began to think I was a lush cause he called every few weeks. Same here, kept a bottle of Jack by the barracks door. If somebody knocked, I took a quick drink before opening. Sergeants would swing by and look for slave labor from time to time. Sorry, can't help been drinking. Also kept my original Army driver's license. The one that said I could only drive Humvees. When they kept updating the vehicles, I could drive. I kept both. Trick sergeants would use would be, "Hand me your license," so I hand him my only Humvees. He would then say, "Crap, I thought you could drive a Himmet, LMTV, Bradley." "Sorry, only Humvees, Sarge." When my dad was in, he avoided getting licensed to drive anything other than a Humvee for years. That worked out great for him until the unit went on a trip and not a single person there could drive the bus, putting them in a pretty serious bind. Turns out everyone else had done like my dad. After they got back home, leadership made sure every single person was trained to drive a bus. I've been in for 4 years, and I've successfully avoided it like the plague. The back of my license is actually blank. In kitchens, if you have sickness or diarrhea, you need to take 3 days off to make sure it's out your system and you won't make anyone sick. I was young, at a new job. My line manager at the time didn't like me and I was joking with the pot washer that I'd drank so much coffee that I had the runs. Line manager overheard, and basically told me I legally couldn't come back for 3 days, and as I was leaving joked about how I should look forward to my pay packet, since it was basically zero that week. Fast forward a few months, line manager appreciates me now. We're short-staffed but I'm not feeling so fresh. He asks why I keep going to the bathroom and I say I got the runs, something's not sitting right, and he tells me to go drink some tea and take 5 and come back, so I said no. I gotta go home, 3 days off, you said it's the law. Every other chef in the kitchen is silently just staring at him, and he just grumbles and said, "Call me tomorrow and let me know if you're better." I say 3 days boss, and he shouts, "If I spot you out partying or at the pub you're fired. Go home." Yes, because everyone knows laws should only be followed when it's convenient for the managers. /sarcasm. You got him good. The owner of my company has checklists, opening and closing, and generally a high standard of quality work. Usually, he gets upset if we don't take a lunch and are 15. He complains if the trailer isn't organized. As soon as we're over budget, time, or money, everything goes out the window. He'll do shitty work and cover it up, he'll make us skip lunches and our breaks while doing a 12-hour day. He'll short the customer supplies or overcharge. It really ducking sucks that people can pretend to have such high standards and that they're a clean, safe, confident work environment, right until they make less money than they were going to, then duck you, make it on budget at any cost. I make a hard no co-workers on social media policy because well, duck all that. Yeah, mine can only see what I post publicly, which is nothing but my profile pics. I also work EMS and love that your wife was able to get away with this. LOL. When I was in the military, we had something called recalls. The running joke was that as soon as you knew a recall was about to happen, you'd say quick, get the beers. During a recall you would have to be showered, shaved, in uniform and at work within 30 minutes. However, if you've been drinking, you weren't due in for 8 hours. My mum's a recently retired nurse, and the running joke was, much like OP's example, to have a glass of wine ready by the phone after a long shift, so if the phone rang, you could take a sip before you answered and in good conscience say that you can't come in because of it. I love the MC, but the thing that gets me about this is that she has her boss as a friend on social media. I keep the two-way separate, but I don't know if that's just me being the weird one. OP replied, I'm the same way. No work people on my social media. But I know lots of people that have work people, family people, regular friends etc. on their social media stuff. If there's someone I'd hang out with after work, sure I'll add them. I don't think I've ever had a boss I wanted to hang out with. Like, they're great people. But no, that's not the life I'm living. LOL. I have an opposite story. I had a big party at my house. I was friendly with my boss at the time and he was at the party. My boss gets a call that there is a big outage at one of our big national customers. The guy who is on call is struggling with restoring everything, customer irate, escalation, etc. Boss comes up to me and tells me he needs me on the call. I laugh out loud at him. You have been with me all day, I have been drinking all day, I have a house full of like 50 plus people. He is like, I am not kidding, come on, I need you. He is serious. Well, I jump on a call with him, connect to the system remotely, and solve the issue in 30 minutes or so while trying not to say much as I really am piss drunk. I guess all is well that ends well, but that mother ducker was never invited to a party at my house again. Software technology and IT, one of the few jobs where drinking can improve your performance. Then make you ask yourself, how does your solution work? Drunk documentation leaves more questions than no documentation at all. Obviously, they should have been consistent in how they apply the policy, but it isn't crazy to have a rule like this. If something had gone wrong during her shift, that picture would have been Exhibit A in a lawsuit and could have made the evening news. Exactly, which is why the second incident was BS, not the first. She simply knew her boss well enough to be prepared for it. Yeah, I start drinking as soon as I get home for the same reason. Yup, the exact same reason. Me too. Yeah, same here. I work in EMS. This happened to a buddy of mine. Super short-staffed and they used the mandatory clause of our collective agreement. He tried to object but they said too bad, they expect him to show up. He drove to work and picked up the direct phone line and asked them where they would like him to put the infant car seat in the ambulance. They were like, what? He said, I tried to tell you I get my kid one weekend a month and you wouldn't listen. He put in for the minimal 4 hours pay and they had to pay him. I always thought it was a little too risky to have co-workers and bosses on my social media. I live the Bible Belt and some of my extracurricular activities are hardly what the local Baptists deem appropriate. I don't want them praying for me or firing me because I not professional in my free time. Had a boss a few jobs ago that'd tell this story. He used to live 5 minutes away from his work and his manager had a habit of coming over to ask him to fill in when they were short-staffed. Boss started keeping a shot glass by the door after coming home so he could take a shot if the boss starts knocking. Can't come in, been drinking.